Greetings, everyone. Shannon from Catapult Consulting Group here with you today. That is CatapultConsultingGroup.com. And I'm coming on today to talk about a subject that I believe is really overlooked so many times as it relates to leadership. Now, there's a saying, and the saying goes that trust is gained in drops and lost in buckets. And so I am on today to give a couple of things that I know we probably all know these, but some reminders on how we can really be intentional and aware of how we engage and just building that trust on our team. And so the first thing, again, obvious, communication, making sure that your communication is really transparent. You know, having that transparency in communication is something that people really value. Employees really value. They want to know that they can trust their leadership. And one way that you can do that is to not only communicate, but communicate in a transparent manner. The second thing that you want to make sure that you are doing on a consistent basis is following through on your promises. I cannot highlight this enough. I mean, this is like triple underlined. For someone to see that you are a man or a woman, a leader who does not follow through on their promises, who makes commitments and somehow does not keep them, it really starts building a wall between you and those you lead. Because if they see you do it, and not just with them, but with other people, they're going to know that that's part of your character. And that's not something that most people want to see in the character of their leaders. And so if you want to build trust, you have to be a man or woman of your word and follow through on those promises. When you are communicating with your staff and you are doing it transparently, you want to make sure that you are also doing it consistently, because your consistent communication is what builds that relationship, that foundation of trust. Next one is making sure that you are giving credit where credit is due. Leaders, you already know that it is absolutely critical that when there is a win of any sort, you always give credit to the team. And when there is a loss, you always take the responsibility for it. That people see your team members shine and that you are not afraid to let them shine. Actively listening is the next one. People feel valued when they feel like they are heard. And actively listening is not just being in the room and allowing them to talk and kind of shaking your head. Actively listening is asking for their ideas, asking for their input, taking the initiative to go to them and ask them for, their perspective on an issue, on a situation. If you hired that person, if that person is working for your team, then there must be something of value that they have to contribute. And we as leaders need to make sure that we are giving them the space, that we are making room for them to share their perspective, to share their knowledge. The next one is leading by example. I remember sitting in a leader's office when I had graduated, come out of grad school, and in this leader's office, they were actually having a conversation with someone on the phone. And I heard them reference something that was probably a really, really huge stretch of the truth. They indicated that something was actually performed that had not actually been performed. And as I was looking at this leader as they were having this conversation on the phone, he was looking at me, looking at him. And I thought to myself, if he is comfortable enough to say this in front of me, then he is comfortable enough to do this to me as well. And so my respect for that person went down tremendously. But not only did my respect for that person go down tremendously, but my trust of that person went down. And so walking the walk and talking the talk, leading by example, is absolutely foundational as it relates to making sure that we are building trust. You know, as leaders, I hope it's important that you want others to know that you are a person of character and of integrity, because those are the elements that actually build trust with others. When people see a schism in those elements, then they kind of look sideways like, okay, who is this person? So leading by example. And the next one is sharing information. Of course, this is all in the communications bundle, but communicating, being authentic in your communications, being consistent in your communications, and sharing information in your communication that would be of value to those who work for you. Sharing communication means that you are extending a trust to your people, that you are seeing them as someone who needs to know this. They're a valued member of the team, and you are including them. And that gives people a sense of belonging. And when people have a sense of belonging, there's an element of trust there. And so sharing information with those who work for you, those who work with you, is definitely a must as it relates to cultivating an environment of trust. The next thing is gratitude. I don't think that anyone would say that they don't want to hear words of gratitude when they have worked hard in any element or aspect. And so showing those who you lead that you are grateful for the work that they have done means that they are seen. It means that they are valued, and that helps build trust. And finally, connect individually with your people. Do they feel comfortable approaching you? What type of connection have you cultivated? You know, people trust people that they know a lot of times, and not everybody that they know, but they definitely are more likely to trust people who they know well as opposed to trusting people they don't know well. So connecting individually. Nobody is saying that you have to share your deepest, darkest personal stuff, but when you connect individually, when people get to know you individually as a person, then they feel more comfortable with you. And they feel more comfortable with you because they start to trust you. And so connecting individually with your people, having those quick conversations, checking in on them just to say hi, not to necessarily follow up and ask what's going on with a specific project, but to ask them how they're doing. Ask them how their family is doing. Ask them how their pets are doing, their kids are doing, how life is going. Let them know that you see them, and share with them. And so I think that that's something that people overlook and don't really focus on in a work situation as it relates to those who you might be leading. But it's really, really important to cultivate that as you are building a culture of trust. So those are some things that I hope were helpful, quick reminders to you on your journey of cultivating a more trusting culture. This is Shannon from CatapultConsultingGroup.com. We'll see you on the next video. Bye.